Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled People story. I've lived in my house for over 15 years and never had any major issues with the homeowners association. For the most part, they maintained the common areas and made sure people followed basic rules about upkeep of their property. Nothing too crazy or overbearing. That changed last year when a new property management company took over running the homeowners association. Almost overnight, nitpicky violations and fines started piling up. It seemed like they were looking for any tiny excuse to slap people with fees. A weed in your garden, $25 fine. Forgetting to bring in your trash cans quickly enough, $15 fine. I even got hit with a $10 fine because part of my grass was half an inch too long. After the third bogus fine, I'd had enough. I emailed the property management company and told them enough was enough. The fines were ridiculous and way over the top. I pointed out how we'd never had issues like this until they came along. I figured that would take care of it. Boy, was I wrong. The next day, I got an email from Steven, the lawyer for the property management company. He informed me that failure to pay my fines would result in legal action. Furthermore, any disparaging comments about the management company would also be grounds for a lawsuit. I couldn't believe it. This guy was threatening to sue me over $10. I decided two could play at this game. I found a lawyer friend who agreed to help me out pro bono. He drafted a response informing Steven that we would challenge any frivolous lawsuits and seek legal fees if the judge determined their case had no merit. Steven seemed undeterred. A week later, I was served with paperwork about an upcoming hearing to resolve the unpaid $10 fine. Steven even had the audacity to tack on a $300 legal consultation fee. My lawyer friend assured me this was just an intimidation tactic and that we had a solid case. On the day of the hearing, I walked into the courtroom feeling nervous but empowered. There sat Steven in his fancy suit, stacks of paperwork on the table in front of him. He had a smug look on his face, clearly expecting this to be a quick win for him. As the hearing got underway, it became clear Steven didn't actually have much evidence to justify the fines or fees. The judge questioned him extensively, but his reasoning boiled down to, "It's in the Homeowners Association bylaws." When it was my turn to present evidence, I calmly explained the situation from my point of view. I provided photos showing my lawn was barely over the limit. I also noted how I'd received 0 Homeowners Association fines for over 15 years until this new property management company came in trying to nickel and dime everyone. The judge listened thoughtfully and reviewed the information. He agreed the fines seemed excessive, especially in light of my long history of compliance. Furthermore, he saw no justification for the $300 legal fee Steven tried to tack on. In the end, the judge made his ruling. All fines were to be canceled and no legal fees would be awarded. Furthermore, future fines would need to be reviewed by the court before they could be enforced. As we left the courtroom, I caught a glimpse of Steven's face. His smugness had been replaced by disbelief. He clearly couldn't fathom how his intimidation tactics had failed so miserably. I guess he got a rude awakening about going up against someone willing to fight back against his nonsense. In the months since the hearing, the crazy fines have mostly stopped. I think the Homeowners Association realized they overplayed their hand with the frivolous lawsuits. As for me, I'm just glad I stood my ground against their bullying. And it only cost me $10 in the process. The next one is a pro-revenge story. So, this weekend, I was supposed to pick up my mom from my grandparents' place since my dad was out of town, and the place is 100 kilometers away from our city. My mom has a driver's license, but does not drive. Since I don't trust my car to leave the city with it, I proceeded to take my dad's car, that he left at home, to go pick up my mom. Since I would not be using my own car for the duration, I decided to give it to my girlfriend to go shopping and such while I am gone. So we wake up Sunday morning, we live together, get in my car, and I drive us to my parents' place to pick up my dad's car. I leave in my dad's car, and my girlfriend leaves in mine. I don't even make it out of the city, and I get a call from her asking if I could come back since she had been in an accident. I head back since the site of the accident was at the very end of the street we lived on. Once I get there, I find out that once she reached the end of the street, she made a right turn and hit the first 2 cars parked on the right. Honestly, I didn't know how to contain my laughter. I mean, hitting a parked car. No, 2 parked cars. That takes skill. So I proceed to talk with the owners of the cars and offer to pay for everything since my girlfriend was at fault. I had no problem going to the police, except for the 3 6-hour waiting time every time you go to the accidents department. but offered to fill out an amiable form. This is something we have in my country where if you have an accident, both sides just fill out the form and be on their way without contacting the police. I live in the capital city and we get lots of accidents on a daily basis. Since it was Sunday and all the insurance places were closed, I could not acquire such a form, so I proceeded to let them photograph my insurance, exchanged phone numbers, and assured them that we were neighbors, and that tomorrow, Monday, I would contact them with the form to fill it out. All is fine and I leave for my grandparents' place. On the way there, I contact a friend that works for insurance, and he mails me a form along with a reference for a service station that would have their cars repaired in a day. I proceed to call the guys and tell them that I will be back in a couple of hours with the form, and we will get everything settled today. To this, one of the guys says, in his position, he is entitled to go to the police, so he will be waiting for us there should we decide to come. This is where I pulled a 180. So I was trying to be a decent human being and repair the damage my girlfriend caused, and this guy wanted to waste 6 hours of my Sunday because he felt entitled. Fine. At this point, it may be useful to mention that I have studied law to a master's degree. I have the degree, and have been working at law firms for over 5 years, so I pretty much know the laws better than the cops. Karma starts to kick in. I call the guys on the way back from my grandparents and ask them to grab a copy of the form that needs to be filled out for me as well. These forms have a number order on them and are first come, first serve. They tell me they cannot since there is only one per person. This is bullcrap. I know this for a fact. When you ask for such a form, the cops even ask if the other party is here to give one for them too. Regardless, I get there after they had been waiting for about 2-3 hours and request a form. They had numbers 56 and 57, and I had 89. Mind you, each case takes about 20-30 minutes, lazy bastards. So when their numbers come up, I was just getting my form. And as they enter the office, I also enter and ask the cop, I am also a part of this incident as it was a 3-way accident. Should I not also be here when you talk to the other 2 parties? The cop proceeds to tell the guys to go out of his office and come back when all 3 of us have filled out the report. The guys proceed to wait another 30 minutes for my girlfriend to fill out the report, and then we all go in once she is done. Now we get to the core of the problem, the most incompetent police officer I have ever seen. I am sure even those among you with no legal background or knowledge will see how pathetic this guy is. People who filed reports, the other 2 guys. One of them did not even have a driver's license because it was his mom's car, and his girlfriend filled the report. The other guy had a driver's license and filed his report, although the car belonged to his parents. This is relevant since the only people legally allowed to file that report are either the owner of the car or the person driving it at the time, which neither of these 2 were. The cop finds my girlfriend guilty, as she truly was, for FFS, and proceeds to fill out the paperwork. I ask him, Officer, do you know the regulations for parking on the street where this incident happened? No. And do you not think it is relevant to the case? Now, I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was all gibberish ending up with, You really dislike cops, don't you? To which I answer, I dislike incompetent individuals in any profession. He ends up getting his way since he was the authority in the situation, and proceeds to ticket my girlfriend and hand the guys copies of my insurance to get their cars fixed. Edit. Small detail I left out, cop did not take pictures of the damaged cars as is mandatory by law for any case that comes across his desk. He literally has no evidence an accident ever happened apart from the word of the other 2 guys. I'm sure that any policeman reading this would have a field day. Cue karma. As soon as I get home, I start to do exactly what society and my profession taught me. Sue him. I filed the lawsuit on Monday and got a date in 4 months. Litigation in non-penal cases is very slow in my country. Usual time to finish a lawsuit is anywhere between 1-8 years depending on how much your lawyer wants to push it. The thing is that she was in fact at fault, and had they just taken me up on my offer and not wasted my time, they would have had their cars fixed by now, Tuesday, but they were entitled, so they went to the police. Fact. Parking regulations on that street, as any other for a matter of fact, state that cars should be parked parallel to the sidewalk. Not on it, not perpendicular, parallel. The street has a few apartment buildings, so there is nowhere near enough parking places. So the neighbors made a convention to park perpendicular to the sidewalk to fit more cars, taking up a whole lane of traffic, but that's another story. The thing with conventions is that it's all fine and dandy till something happens, and the police get involved. Then the law states you must take responsibility for what happened. So basically, there is no chance whatsoever that we will lose the lawsuit, and I will even drag it out as much as possible. I'm thinking I could get it up to 4, 5 years, no probs. Now, another kink is a law that states that any item that is under litigation does not produce legal effects. In translation, this means that until the judge gives a verdict to my lawsuit, the ticket is suspended. So the guys will not be able to fix their cars, not even on their own dime. It is somewhat assimilated to evidence, but at a much lower scale. Also, once the process is over, not only will I not be paying for their repair, they will be paying for mine. My main argument in the lawsuit is a legal concept known as a causality link, which applied to my case means yes, my girlfriend caused an accident, but that accident was caused by you parking your cars illegally. If you would have parked legally, there would have been more room, your car would not have been in that spot, and thus would not have been hit, regardless of my girlfriend's actions. So basically, your action of parking perpendicular caused the damage to my car. Don't know if it's pro, but surely is revenge, enacted over years. The next one is a petty revenge story. Okay, so I, 24-year-old female, have been living with my roommate, 26-year-old female, for 3 years. My roommate is a strict vegan and has been since she was 14. I, however, am not. This has never been a problem since I think people can do whatever they want with their lives, and I have never tried to change her mind about being vegan. My roommate is a bit of a plant enthusiast. She's been collecting and raising different types of plants for years and has amassed quite a collection. She even puts little sticker labels with the names she's given them, which is adorable. She's truly devoted to her plants. I think this is cool, but have never really interacted with them besides watering them whenever she's out. It really doesn't get in the way of my life, so I don't care that she's so obsessed with them, and I'm glad she has a hobby. Here's where the problem begins. 2 months ago, she visited a conference on animal products and came back with a more fiery spirit. She started going to events regularly, became a local activist, started preaching to people in the street, etc. Now this isn't a problem. She's a human being who can believe whatever she wants. Or at least it wasn't a problem until every conversation with her transformed into telling me why I should go vegan, why I'm evil for consuming animal products, and how I should be ashamed that I'm not vegan. This seemed weird since she hadn't acted like this prior to the conference. But it had gotten so common, I started waking up earlier to go to work so I could eat my eggs in the parking lot of my job so I don't have to hear her rant. Since we were close to the end of our lease, I had decided to pull a little stunt before we parted ways. I headed to an exotic plants place near where I live and got a bunch of different types of carnivorous plants. I'm talking every single species I could get my hands on. I also got pots and things to hang them from so they looked pretty. My roommate wasn't there that day, so I had plenty of time to set the place up. I decided to do it in the kitchen since that's where most of her scolding would take place. I put them everywhere I could. Wherever she had a plant, I put one right beside it just to be extra petty. It looked like a greenhouse in there. Honestly, I was pretty proud of my work. I felt like Buddy the Elf when he renovated the store. When she got home, she started screaming at me, blowing up, saying that I'm horrible. She was livid. But because I bought them and I hadn't moved or touched anything of hers, she couldn't do anything. It's been like this for the last few weeks, and I've been caring for them daily, even researching the best ways to keep them alive and purchasing products so they can thrive. Honestly, I've actually gotten pretty fond of the plants. I went as far as naming and labeling them. I'm moving out today, so I thought I would tell this story because it's kinda crazy. The next one is a malicious compliance story. I'm a disabled veteran, and at the time this actually happened, I was solely depending on walking stick. I could not walk more than 10 feet maximum without assistance. I was asked by a friend to be a bridesmaid at her wedding. She quickly proved herself to be a bridezilla from hell, and everything had to meet her vision. Everything had to fall within her very rigid scope of what the aesthetics should be. She made a couple of what she claimed were innocent comments about my walking stick. I offered multiple times not to be a bridesmaid and would assist in any other way I could help. She refused every offer and insisted I had to be a bridesmaid. Then I heard from another close friend, and also a bridesmaid, that she was very upset that I was insisting on using my walking stick. She made a comment saying that she was just going to hide it and then I would just have to go without it. Looking at the mutual friend's face when she said that she tried to laugh at off as a joke. Well, there was no doubt in my mind that she was going to try to have my walking stick go missing, so I made arrangements. Sure enough, they have the wedding rolls around, and while getting hair and makeup, My walking stick disappears. I was not happy, and told everyone I have to have it back. I cannot walk down the aisle without it. The bride insisted that they didn't know where it was and they looked everywhere and I was just going to have to make do. I said, so after you joked about taking my walking stick, it goes missing and you want me to make do? Her exact words were, you'll just have to do what you can do to get up the aisle. Cue malicious compliance, I texted my boyfriend. He went out to the car and brought in mobility scooter that I had rented just in case I needed it. I had him put it out of sight but where we could get to it easily, and then he or the other bridesmaids physically supported me. We made our way to the back of the hall for the start of the ceremony. The bride, who had been talking to her father and not paying attention, did not see the scooter until she started to walk up the aisle, and there are her 3 bridesmaids. 2 standing tall and me sitting on the most hideous-looking multicolored with sparkles mobility scooter I could find. If looks could kill, she would have planted me. Within seconds of the ceremony ending, my walking stick had been found. She and her new husband brought it over to me and told me it had been found, and I could get that god-awful scooter back out to the car. I mustered up a tear and told her I was so sorry, but I was in so much pain from having to try to walk without my walking stick that there was no way I would be able to go without the scooter. I'm very proud to say that the scooter is in over 90% of her wedding photos. Update. To answer questions, I do not have any of the pics. I wish I did. I know that there was one photo taken of the other 2 bridesmaids on the scooter with me attempting a drunken version of the hokey pokey. Sandra, if you ever find this post, I would be willing to pay for that picture, or the hokey pokey was captured on video. I also hope that you are no longer such a heinous idiot. The next one is an entitled People Story. When I was a uni student, one of my housemates was dating a guy from her hometown. She invited him to come visit for a couple of weeks, which we were all fine with. But that couple of weeks visit very quickly turned into him moving in and mooching off us. They both informed us he would find a job and pay his fair share. But this didn't happen. He made no effort to find a job. He didn't pay any rent, paid nothing towards the bills, did nothing towards cleaning the house. He just spent all his time taking up our communal area, playing video games and watching TV. In their bedroom, they just proceeded to have extremely loud sex that everybody could hear because the walls were too thin. In the end, we had enough. It was about 3 months into his squatting that US remaining 3 housemates had a chat about whether this was acceptable. Obviously, we were all in agreement that it wasn't and set up a meeting with the girlfriend and the interloper. It was decided I would be the one to broach the subject and take the lead on the conversation, informing them both that he had overstayed his welcome and it was time he went home. He argued that he'd been struggling to find a job and that's why he was unable to pay his way. But we all pointed out he hadn't even made any attempts to find a job, just spending all his time on the sofa playing video games. Eventually, his girlfriend agreed that he'd been taking the piss a bit, and asked if he wouldn't mind going home. He did, and I thought it was the end of it. Oh, it wasn't. On the day of his moving out, he proceeded to post something on Facebook, thanking my other 2 housemates for being welcoming hosts, whilst deliberately dragging my ass in the posts, claiming I was really poor host and was throwing him out for no reason. Of course, I wasn't going to stand for that, calling him out and making it very clear it was a collective house decision and he had been living with us rent-free for several months, which was not acceptable, and pointing out we would have been happy for him to stay if he was paying any contribution to the house, but he wasn't. That ended in him making a groveling apology under my comment, saying he was sorry and he didn't intend for it to come out like that, etc. I didn't accept it because he knew what he was doing and just said he should take the post down because he's made an idiot of himself. He did, but I still made sure my side of the story was out there by making my own post. Anyway, he went home. We got our house back and he didn't visit again. Anytime my housemate and he wanted to see each other, she would go back home. After a few weeks, I'd found that he had also set up mobile contracts with his address listed as ours, and was not paying them. I gave all the bills to my housemate to give to him. They eventually broke up, but honestly, she wasted too much time and energy on the complete waste of space. He was just an entitled user who didn't expect to come up against 3 girls who weren't going to take his crap. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.